I was having a really hard time at work, and I went to my HR at that time, and what I was told to do is to go home and take a nap.
Well, it's about worker burnout.
Burnout.
Burned out at work.
Recently, the World Health Organization recognized burnout as an occupational phenomenon.
To a new term that's been getting a lot of buzz in offices across America. If the phrase quiet quitting...
People doing a little less to start their work week.
There's even a name for it, bare minimum Monday.
Burnout, quiet quitting, work-related stress. There are so many terms or symptoms to describe work-related disorders. But just ask yourself, have you ever felt so exhausted or bored by your 9-to-5 job that you considered quitting overnight and never seeing your manager again? Do you feel like you're stuck in a routine that you don't enjoy and isn't taking you where you want to be in life? Well, you are not the only one, and you've probably figured it out already. Whether it's burnout, bore-out, brownout, or quite quitting, work-related disorders might well be the diseases of the decade, with serious health and economic consequences. And while these rather new terms and problematics are complex to grasp even for experts, there are many clear factors that are catalyzing the current burnout epidemic, or more generally, what we can call the work-related disorder epidemic. Because let's face facts, work-related disorders are exploding. Let's give a few numbers. In 2020, during the pandemic, Mental Health UK found that 46% of workers felt more prone to extreme levels of stress compared to the previous year. The American Psychological Association's 2021 Work and Well-Being Survey found that nearly 79% of employees had experienced work-related stress in the month before the survey. According to research published on Zippia in 2022, 83% of U.S. workers suffer from work-related stress, with 25% saying their job is the number one stressor in their lives. And in a 2022 survey of workers around the world by Gallup, a pollster found that only 21% of them are engaged by their jobs. The figures show a clear problem. And while these numbers were clearly increased by the effects of COVID lockdowns, they highlight a more fundamental problem regarding our relationship with work. And it's important to note that what's changed now from before is that these disorders do not only concern your ambitious Wharton MBA grad putting in 100-hour weeks in a consulting firm to accelerate their career progression and succeed in life. No, burnout and other syndromes have become mainstream and touch many sectors such as healthcare and all types of companies, including big corporates or startups, where employees work under pressure for sometimes mediocre pay, especially in Europe. But what went so wrong? In 1930, renowned economist John Maynard Keynes published a short essay called Economic Possibilities for Our Grandchildren, where he predicted that in 100 years, people would only work 15 hours per week and turn towards leisure as their material needs were satisfied. 89 years later, the World Health Organization officially recognized burnout as a syndrome. So Keynes' prediction was spectacularly wrong, but probably not because of the reasons you think. Productivity did rise, and machines are working for us. Global warming can attest to it. But this did not lead to happy humans working only 2 days a week. 2023 looks more like a dystopian and cringe corporate nightmare full of disenchanted and tired people. But why? What the hell is happening? Well, let's get into it. We've isolated 4 long-term underlying factors driving the so-called burnout epidemic. First, bad socio-economic conditions and fewer opportunities than in previous periods are demotivating employees, making them more prone to work-related stress disorders. This concerns everyone, but is even more true in the case of younger generations, millennials, Gen X, and Gen Z. The era of growth where we considered resources as infinite is indeed over. We live instead in an era with unparalleled socioeconomic difficulties. Global warming, pandemics, inflation, mass layoffs, pensions crisis, political instability, and so on. This has an impact on everybody, but particularly hits younger generations and their careers. To illustrate, according to Fed data, when boomers were the same age as millennials, they owned over 20% of U.S. wealth against 4.6% for millennials. Gen Z even have 86% less purchasing power than baby boomers did in their 20s. Younger generations are therefore poorer than their elders. Just think about your New Yorker or Parisian friend paying thousands of dollars for a small and ugly flat. Plus, these generations also have pretty much bad-looking economic outlooks, as well as an overall unstable future. This is why they are the epitome of the problem. Even high-income earners are increasingly under pressure. A Lending Club report recently found that 49% of those earning more than 6 figures in the United States reported living paycheck to paycheck. I know how ridiculous and scary it sounds, but it's the reality. Younger generations are therefore afraid for their future, mostly underpaid, and have limited career progression opportunities despite what corporate communication is trying to make their employees believe. As a consequence, they tend to feel like the return on the investment they make in their work is not worth it, and this is a major demotivator. To put it in private equity terms, they feel like their ROI is lower than the hurdle rate. And under current conditions, they might well be right. Because you can give yourself 100% at work, there is a high chance you will not own a mansion nor have an efficient retirement plan. You'll react by saying that anyone can create a company and become rich nowadays. But since interest rates rose, it has even become quite difficult to create a fancy startup and raise VC money. Crazy times, I know. All in all, things are not looking great. But hey, suck it up, be thankful for what you have, and listen to your manager buddy. Second factor, increasing modern life stress factors. The second reason is that not only the socio-economic conditions have worsened, but the intense interconnectivity through computers and smartphones makes us more vulnerable to it. There is simply too much unnecessary information for our well-being. Anyone today can in seconds go from doing slides to watching a video from a remote war or comparing his career to his university classmates on LinkedIn. Not to mention that research has proved that the light and stimuli from screens can increase stress levels and decrease sleep quality. Third factor, intense and increasing competition among applicants is giving the edge to companies. On the other hand, the competition is acute. More and more people are graduating from university, and just as the latest tech layoffs have shown, the power is in the hand of corporates. This adds even more instability to individuals' lives and worsens work conditions. Research from the University of Reading concluded, for instance, that job competition amongst graduates has a negative impact on graduates' wages. And it's not just the wages, but the day-to-day work life that becomes filled with competition and people running after promotions. Whether at a posh Wall Street fund skyscraper, a regional corporate office, or a startup open space, everyone is feeling it. The day-to-day in the workplace sometimes feels like the Game of Thrones or the House of Cards. People are playing a superficial corporate game to show their motivation. This career tango danced through endless meetings was the part of the work Keynes had not considered. Because there's much more to career success than doing your job right and efficiently, it's about showing that you are committed. In current ascetic company cultures, especially in the United States, it's about following a weird corporate code, imagined by probably great resource optimizers in order to show that you belong. The result? Long hours, competitive and superficial company cultures where standing out from the crowd by your ideas or refusing to partake in an after-work drink session has become nothing else than professional suicide. Fourth reason, the gap between different groups creates an intense polarity. As we mentioned before, things are looking worse for employees, especially newer generations whose relationship towards work is justifiably changing. Younger people are not likely to get to live the American dream, so they want social justice and a job that has meaning. They probably want to work from home and not make work the #1 priority in their life. This is probably why Gallup found that only 21% of workers were engaged in their jobs. But the people in control, the winners, the managers and partners have had a much different experience climbing up the corporate ladder. Their world is very different from younger generations, or those that have not had as much success or luck as them. They do not particularly understand younger generations or people working under them in general, and the latter do not understand them either. We've all heard a senior staff member complaining about juniors and their work ethic, asking themselves, why has everyone become so lazy and entitled? One of the best examples of such a gap was Elon Musk asking Twitter employees to get ready to be extremely hardcore, and that only exceptional performance will constitute a passing grade. But why? Is Twitter saving lives? Why would the employees sacrifice their lives for one man's vision? And if Elon had to take a management or humanity test, would his performance be considered as exceptional? This situation creates a strong incomprehension between junior and senior staff. And while you'd think that with time this gap would close up, this is not the case. The simple reason is that senior staff members are promoting the minority who think and act similarly to them. This is human, but the consequence is that the disparity is getting even stronger and working together harder. Let's wrap it up. Our relationship with work is changing. There's no denying that. The underlying factors are rather clear, even though their effects are very complex and hard to analyze. Work-related disorders have serious health and economic consequences, both for the individuals and their employers, especially for small companies that depend on their staff, If we want to successfully face the problems coming our way, we need to accelerate change in company culture and come up with a system that works for everyone. And this includes younger generations. This is the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Do not hesitate to comment and let us know what you think. And please do not forget to share the video, subscribe, and put the notification bell on so that you don't miss our next release.